the cloud. I've never recorded a class inside the hospital. Always when I've taught in the hospital, it's always been as a CE provider. I've never been a patient in the hospital. And inside these 3 weeks from what I went through, I've been on the inside. And I think as I'm going through the process, I'm learning why, because I'm able to help the healthcare workers like you who work on the inside of the system. And I'm seeing what their challenges are. I'm being real serious with you right now. When time is of the essence, when billing, you got to bill in 15-minute units. What can you do to improve your patient's experience? So by the way, I have OT and PT coming later on this evening, and I'm already talking to them because there was a misplacement of where my IV should be, and it caused my arm to swell. I took pictures of all of this, so you guys will see the whole thing on Facebook, but I want people to see so that they learn that, we're not trying to sue anybody, but just educate and say, this is the reason why healthcare professionals need these tools no matter where they go, because they're easy. They're non-painful to the patient. You just need some knowledge, your hands in about 15 minutes, and you can improve outcomes a lot faster than you realize. And it worked. And the therapist, she was really happy. She goes, oh my gosh, I know I heard this, but I actually saw it work. I said, yeah. And now you're going to be able to see my veins when you need to find the other vein that you're looking for. And we were able to do it without any effort at all. It just went in so easily. So there's so many applications for your MLD, depending on how medical you work or how spa-like you work. It just depends on you, who you are, where you're wanting to go, and how you're wanting to grow. So let's come back to our lymph nodes, because they're really the celebrity of the story right now. Lymph nodes, you get between 650 and 750, and that's for a lifetime. Okay, so you want to be good to them. Want to clean them up. You want to periodically service them, which is what we're going to get into next. Also, the vessels that are attached to the lymph nodes are very similar to, if you're looking at a commode or a bathroom toilet, it's attached to some plumbing, isn't it? At least I hope so. If you want a functioning toilet, you have to have it attached by pipes that allow the material in, but also water to flush it out. Now, in the lymph system, the lymph fluid, we call that a lymph load. And you might see it in literature. It's called LL. If you ever do, read the literature from Vaughter. LL means lymph load. So what is that load composed of? This is interesting, very interesting. Lymph is composed of protein. It's made of fat. It's made of cellular debris. And it's made of water. So protein, fat, cellular debris, and water create the lymph load. In other words, what that lymph in your vessels is transporting to your lymph nodes. So quick question. Do you think that diet has anything to do with this? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes, yes, absolutely. The lymph it's going to be thinner if it has more water. It'll have more fatty component if it has fat. Proteins. Now think about this. This is going to turn all of this around. Have you ever seen anybody with swollen ankles or swollen, like from the knee down?
Daily.
Yeah, a lot of people do. And did you ever notice it's really thick, like you could put your thumbprints into it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so question. What is the number one favorite drug for getting rid of water?
Lasix.
Lasix. Okay, we call it a water pill. And now looking at this list, what would it remove from the lymph load to take that drug?
Water.
Water. Would that slow that speed down and leave the sticky stuff behind?
Yes.
Guess where we're finding it? Mike, you probably already know. We're finding that in the brain. And it's called plaque, and it's called Alzheimer's. Is that mind-blowing?
Mind clogging, at least.
Yeah, mind clogging. The researchers at University of Virginia 5 years ago discovered the lymph vessels in the brain and went, oh my gosh. What we're seeing here is the lymph load, protein, fat, and garbage, but there's no water. So it's like a sewage system sitting on top of the brain with no water to exit all that stuff. Did we just learn a lot right there?
Yep.
Everybody's running for their water. Yeah, I did too. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't drink enough water. The lymph system is not the cardiovascular system. We're going to see that. They're two separate systems. The heart pumps because you have a central pump. The lymph pumps because you have muscle movement and water. Without those two things, the lymph gets thick, it gets hard, and it doesn't do what it's supposed to. Oh, but let's go a step further. Is all lymph created equal? Would all of you have the same type of lymph right now? They're like, gee, I don't even know. Well, here, I'm going to give you a suggestion, but when you do it, you might want to turn your camera off. You blow your nose. And when you're healthy, what color comes out of there?
Clear.
Clear. And when you're not healthy and it's green or it's yellow, what color is that? That stagnation of lymph in the dural sinuses. They just discovered that too.
Wow.
So your sinuses can give you an indication of what's going on in your head immune system. If you ever had a burn, you burned yourself on the stove, what developed there?
Blister.
A blister. And what fluid was in the blister? I know what you're going to say. You're going to say interstitial fluid, right? Do you know that interstitial fluid and the lymph fluid's the same thing? The difference is when the lymph is in the lymph vessel, we call it lymph. When lymph is outside of the vessel, we call it interstitial fluid. It's the same stuff. What's it doing? The lymph got off the freeway. It's depositing healthy lymphocytes right in the area that where the tissue was destroyed, start to repair and protect. And hopefully that lymph fluid is clear. The more clear it is, the better it's going to be. So who's learning a lot right now? Good. Because someone asked earlier, how about people who have MLD and they have headaches and stomach aches? That sometimes happens, and that's usually because they went into session and they were not hydrated. They didn't have enough water. So you got all this material without water to hydrate it. Now, let's step one step further. Is any water okay? Or we can use any water, right? That's going to make it all better.
I wouldn't use tap water.
Yes. You would want to use alkaline water because the lymph, when it sits for a long time, it becomes acidic. Acidic lymph will turn yellow, and it's the type that eats through the skin. That's the one that you see eat through the bed sores. The clearer the lymph runs, the healthier it is. So to help our client before they come for a session and after, I like to show them this video. Now, can I advise them what to eat or drink? No, but I can inform them and let them make some wise choices on their own. So this might be a surprise to some of you. You can find these on YouTube. They have long ones on these that are like 30 minutes long, but we'll play the shorter one just so you can get the idea. So let's see if we can get this up for you.
Yeah, it was sealed, and I'm going to put in a little bit into the cup. Unless.
So are you able to see it?
No.
Okay, let me make sure you do.
They get you in the door with a free weekend.
Make sure we share. Let's see if you can see this. Can you see Disney World?
Or dinner, or sometimes just a Visa gift card. Then they tell you it'll only take 90 minutes. That is the first lie they tell. But
Is everyone seeing this?
No.
No, well, I want you to see it. So. Let's come on down and share. Share. Aha, okay, there we go. This is going to take a look at waters that you and I know and purchase, and even water that you find right in Florida. So let's take a look at what the test says.
Let's test this water and check the alkalinity.
We'll start right here.
Good health this morning. It's called alkaline water. What you see right here, and you might have seen it on your store shelves at your local grocery store.
Yes, but what is it? Fans claim that it can do everything from hydrate you better to reduce acid reflux, lower your risk of cancer, and even slow down the aging process.
Well, all very good things. So on this Wellness Wednesday, Dr. Frank McGeorge is here to show you what makes this water different and whether alkaline water is really worth trying.
To understand alkaline water, I have to take you back to chemistry class for a second. Tap or regular water has a pH of roughly 7. It's neutral. Things with a pH less than 7 are acidic. Think lemon juice or vinegar. Now, things with a pH over 7 are alkaline. Alkaline water has a high pH. Some alkaline water is created naturally as water comes through a mineral spring with high concentrations of magnesium, potassium, or calcium. Other alkaline waters are created with a process called ionization, often with minerals added afterward. Now, the health claims are based on a vague notion that most people's diets tend toward acidification. Therefore, alkaline water could help offset acids in our diet. But how much of this is science and how much is marketing? First off, your stomach is full of acid that begins the digestive process. When you drink alkaline water and it mixes with the stomach acid, the alkaline component is basically immediately neutralized. Think vinegar and baking soda, just less dramatic. It's also important to understand that your body tightly regulates its pH, which is normally 7.4. And it does that by excreting acid or alkaline base from your kidneys or by changing your breathing to remove carbon dioxide. The point is, even if the modest amount of alkaline content was successfully absorbed, it wouldn't have any effect on your overall pH, and medically you wouldn't want it to. Having an elevated pH is not normal. There is very little research supporting any health benefit of alkaline water, and the little there is was either sponsored by the bottlers of the water or is too small to draw any meaningful conclusion. I asked Erin Dolinsky, a registered dietitian at Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak, to share her thoughts on alkaline water. She too was unimpressed with the lack of solid research.
In reality, natural water, plain tap water, provides the most benefits.
But she understands the appeal.
As always, most individuals want the quick fix. At the end of the day, it's best just to save your money and just drink plain tap water.
Now, generally, alkaline water isn't harmful unless you have severe kidney problems where an excess of certain minerals could be bad. It tastes exactly like regular water, but it is more expensive. In fact, this brand actually comes from New Zealand, so it has traveled over 8,000 miles to get to you right here in the Great Lakes state. Back to you.
Listen,
Well, my gosh, all the way
Should
from
try
New
it.
Zealand, we should
we
definitely
gotta
try it.
This is New Zealand water.
I know New Zealand's known for some pretty good wine, like Sauvignon Blanc from New
Wait,
Zealand.
What are we trying that next? That's tomorrow.
Just saying that they might have good water too.
Wait, cheers.
Cheers.
Now that's delicious.
Tastes just like water.
Tastes like regular water to me,
I would
folks.
never have known it traveled all the way from New Zealand.
Mm.
Don't pay the extra money for that.
Ooh, tomato, unpeeled with seeds. Horrible.
So here you have it. The experts are out on the whole topic. Is it better to drink alkaline water or not to? There's lots of studies online when you have time and you can get on YouTube. I would take a look. I like when they actually take the bottles of water and break them down, each one, and you can see the acidity level, if it turns yellow, if it turns blue, or like Essentia, the one I drink, turns purple. That tells me how alkaline is versus acidic. It's just crazy that the ones that are promoted the most and we pay the most for tend to be the highest paying and tend to also have the most acidity. So why is that important to your client with lymph issues? Well, let's think it through a little bit. How long had they had a lymph issue for? Is it recent? Is it more than a year? Is it a couple years? Because if it is, they could be developing a very acidic lymph. That means when you go to do the MLD for them, some of the side effects that you might experience are headache, nausea, stomach ache. These would be very common if you're trying to clean out or pressure wash these tiny little narrow vessels with water that's not good for them. Now here we're getting a chance to see what the lymph vessels actually look like. Those lymph vessels there do not look like your veins. So just for a moment, I want you to flip over your wrist and look at your veins. And then I want you to take a look and see if you can find your lymph vessels below the skin. You see your veins. Let's look for the lymph vessels. So you're not seeing them because the lymph vessel is the size of a hair. So taking a look at the lymph vessel construction, you're going to notice, looking at the darker pieces, each dark piece is called a lymph angion. Each little dark piece is called a lymph angion. So let me draw. Format, draw. This here. This vessel, this dark green piece is called a lymph angion. And yet you notice with the lymph angions that they remain open. Did you see that? That's a vessel that's not like your vein. Your vein, your blood stays in your vein. Your vein doesn't escape it unless it's broken. But the lymph system, you have a vessel with these little pathways and the doors which open part way. This allows the lymph in and it allows the lymph out. And that's the reason why they do not call the lymph system a circulatory system. They call it a transportation system. The lymph system is not a circulation system. It's a transportation system. So what's it transporting? Well, it's transporting what we were talking about before. Cellular debris, protein, fatty acids, all that junk, and it will deposit it up in the lymph nodes. That's where it goes to get filtered. But to get there, they have to travel through these pathways. And the lymph system is actually a pretty easy system to remember if you just think of our modern roadway system, where you have side streets, you have main roads, and you have highways. So side streets are lymph capillaries. They're the tiny ones. I don't know, too many of you probably like driving side streets. Then you have main roads. Those are lymph collectors. They collect the lymph from the side streets. They're a little faster, a little wider. And then we have these. Woo. Now you like that poster you saw behind Dr. Lerner. And it's written in English just for you. Anastomoses. There are superhighways of the lymphatic system. Big pathways, wide pathways that will get lymph moving from one area to the other quickly. So if I want to get something done quickly, what pathway am I going to choose? You're going to use your anastomoses, right?
Yes.
Use your highway. What this means, let me explain this to you, because I get lots of advanced practitioners. Some of you probably have practiced longer than me. I've been practicing 23 years. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. But what we were doing in America was we were stretching out the treatments and we were making them longer than they had to be. And that was a problem because I used to work with the Division of Medicare Fraud for the FBI. My husband was an FBI agent out of Miami. And what was happening was therapists, in order to keep people on the charts, instead of getting the job done, they would have them skipping appointments in between and or doing partial treatments. And so 1 inch of swelling would take almost 30 days to get down when you should have been able to do it in 2 days. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just to let you know, so you makes you feel better. I no longer work for them. Okay. I'm just telling you things that are for real behind the scenes that'll help you. You know, like why do some clinics get stuck? Why do some people get called out in the carpet? You know, what's going on out there? And that's why I want you to know. I'm gonna put you on this so I can see all of you. Stop share. Yeah. So what was happening was there was a lot of abuse coming out of a couple of different professions where they were really milking the system so that they could get the biggest dollar and dime. It didn't take Medicare long to figure out and go, why are some of these places like Dr. Lerner's clinic we're working with 5-foot limbs and we can get that down in 8 weeks. And here you got a facility over here that they're trying to work on a hand and can't get it down in a month. So they actually had us come in service them. That's part of what this class is. It's a partial in service for Humana. And when they caught wind and we were able to show them how this works and how to do it effectively and quickly like they do in Germany, that translated into all the patients of South Florida. They're huge. They're an HMO. They told all their doctors, send all the edema to Dr. Lerner's clinic. We know that they're not going to waste time. They're going to get the job done. They're going to get it done safely. And they're not going to play around with these games. And sadly, that put a very popular MLD group out of business for the most part in Florida. Made me feel bad because I actually felt, I thought he had a lot to offer us in the MLD family. He did have something, but committing fraud it's not kosher. We can't do that. And all of us are practitioners that work in this system, and we probably work with Medicare patients. Now, the other side, though, give you the flip side. Maybe you decide that you no longer want to work in the billing setting, and you're just wanting to work to maintain people after they've been seen in the system. That happens a lot too. That's where I'm at this stage. After 23 years, I don't want to work in the hospital. The doctors know me, and I say, I do all cash paying patients. I'm not going to bill insurance. I'll give them, they can self-submit. I don't do those headaches anymore. My focus is on treating the patient, and I'll do a job well done. So everybody in here is in a different place. Maybe you're ready to expand and grow. I've got ideas for you that we use that will work. But as you slow down too, what can you do? How can you do it and be efficient? You may want to partner up with some of the other OT-PTs who are doing MLD, but they're not doing the management. They're just doing the insurance billing for what they can, and then that person has to manage on their own for about a year. I've had many of them refer their patients to me. So I hope I'm giving you some good ideas.
Hello.
Yes.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Dr. Patel.
Hi, Dr. Patel. Excuse me, everyone, for just a moment. Dr. Patel is here among us.
Oh. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. So thank you, everyone, for being patient. We're just waiting on the MRI. So you guys might know before my family knows what's going on. But with all that being said, the lymph system is a major player in the removal of toxins in the body at the superficial level and at the deep. So if they find scar tissue building up in my cervical spine from 2 previous car accidents, or if it's from the shot, can that get cleaned out? Is that a question you be asking? Because now I'm in the patient's shoes and I'm asking those questions. The good news is I'm aware of tools that we now have that allow us to do that safely. And you learned one with Laney, which is MPS. They're using that for concussions. They're using that at the VA hospital. If there's scar tissue there in my neck, guess where I'm going? My next stop will be Boca, because I know that that can help to break it down. And then what particleizes, little particles, can the lymph begin to flow again once it's been put into little pieces? No, yeah, oh yeah. Wait till you see the pictures this afternoon. The answer is yes. A matter of fact, you guys, before we get into, I'm going to show you some pictures, but let me show you something first that will make it make more sense. Let's just start here. We were talking about the lymph vessels, which come in 3 sizes, kind of just like, hey, if I know how to drive a car, then I understand lymph. Because I know what a side street is, I know a main road, and I know a highway. The little side streets are small. Sometimes they dead end and they're not real awesome to work with. It's better when you can get them attached to a main road. The main roads will travel much more quickly and transport the fluid more quickly. But ultimately, if you're from the Miami or South Florida area, like me, you like the highway. Because if you're living in Weston, which could be that axilla over on the right, you want to get to the beach on the left, you're going to take 595. You just want to get from one side to the other. You don't want to take a bunch of side streets to get there. And that's why I was saying, if you learn some different lymph, it doesn't mean you were wrong, but you may have been taking the long route when there were more direct pathways right there in front of you. So on this map, and you'll help me out, you see pathways that are in black, right? The ones that are in black, all the ones in black, those are your lymph collectors. Those are your main roads. And you might want to write this down. Main roads lead to lymph nodes. Main roads lead to lymph nodes. So, case for example, if you look at the face and you see all the black vessels, where are they delivering the lymph to?
Neck.
Yeah, your cervical lymph nodes is going all into this drain here. Everything in the face is draining down into the lymph nodes here. When you're looking at the arms, those black vessels, where is it draining the lymph to?
Axilla.
Into the axilla. And you'll also notice, do you see across the chest that they drain toward the axilla too?
Mhm.
Yeah, you can see vessels right here that drain out toward the axilla. And then your legs, the lymph vessels come up from the floor and they drain up into your inguinal lymph nodes. So your legs are drained at your inguinal. What's happening to your inguinal lymph nodes right now?
Slightly compressed.
They're depressed because you're sitting, right? So if you had a seated job all day, what would happen to your ankles? You get cankles, right?
Swell a little.
Okay, so guess what, my friends? We're gonna stand up. Everybody's standing up. There we go. I want you to find some highways of lymph. This will start, just the fact that you stood up will help to get the lymph moving because you got all these vessels decompressed. But take 3 fingers and go across from one axilla to the other. This is the highway. A major highway connecting the axillary lymph nodes to the other axilla. So you're going to take your hand, go up and over, and even use your palm. Push the skin up and over. Yeah. Mike looks good. Lana looks good. Swan looks good. There we go. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, just push up and over like you're doing a rainbow. And we're going to do that 9 times. As you work across this highway, the lymph in the breast tissue will start to go into this highway. Also helps to drain your arms and the back of your arms. And ladies, nobody has, back fat, right? Nobody's got the bat wings. A lot of times lymph gets caught there. Let's go ahead and go the other way. Let's go up and over, up and over, up and over. Yep, but try to use a flat hand. Try not to use fingertips. You guys are looking good so far. This is called the AAA highway because it is on the anterior, travels from one axilla to the other. 2-lane highway, AAA. You have another highway that goes from your axilla down to your inguinal. So I want you to do that imaginarily. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. You're going to go from axilla to inguinal. Axilla to inguinal. This would be like I-95 and I-75, okay? Your northerners are up here in the armpit and they're going to come down to Florida. You got your I-75, that's your Midwesterners, and they're coming down the highway. But it's 2-directional. So we're going to clean out that highway real quick. We're going to take your hand and you're going to use that flat hand. Come over this way so you see me better. There. And turn the fingertips down. Now, no worries, we have a whole video of this when we're ready to do the hands-on with your clients. So, but for right now, we just want you to enjoy a little bit of self-MLD after sitting for a while. I'm going to switch and do the other side. Make sure the fingertips point downward.
How much pressure do you apply?
Just the surface of the palm of your hand, like you're petting a cat or a dog.
Okay.
And you're taking it all the way down to your inguinal lymph nodes. Well, let me ask you something. Forgive me, ladies, for a minute. Here's our groin, right? This is where our inguinal lymph nodes end. But what's cut right through this area?
C-section.
C-sections. So that's cutting north and south through those highways, isn't it?
Yep.
Do you know, let me put this back up in my face here. Do you know that all women who have C-sections have edema? Did you just learn something? Yeah, go ahead. You can take a seat because we'll be doing more hands-on stuff here. But I just wanted you to get a taste of that. You learned something real critical. There are 3 highways across the anterior body. the AAA across your chest, the AIA up and down from your axilla to your inguinal. That's north and southbound. So let's talk for a minute. Can you think of any surgeries that possibly happen on the AAA?
Bypass.
Breast implants?
Open heart surgery.
Open heart surgery, good. Breast cancer surgery? Would those surgeries affect a main highway right here?
Yeah.
Absolutely would. By tomorrow, you'll never look at your patients the same way again. You'll be looking for scars and direction of scars and what pathways of the lymph system are being impeded by them. That's why MPS and MLD had to come together. We were like, oh my gosh, we can get rid of the scar tissue impeding the pathway. Then we can get the MLD to be more effective and reroute it to healthier areas, or even revive some of those broken areas. So along the AIA highway from axilla to inguinal, can you think of any surgeries that go on there?
Gallbladder.
Kidney, liver,
Kidney, liver, gallbladder.
and
The
the stomach and intestinal surgery.
Abdominal mesh, yeah.
Gastric bypass.
Yeah, gastric bypass. I'm looking at
Appendectomies.
appendectomy. I was waiting for, yeah, the old fashioned ones.
The
cut
old fashioned
right
one,
through it.
yeah. I have one that's about that long.
Wouldn't you, I bet you can still see that scar today.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you be happy if you could get rid of it?
It's basically, it's not bothering me, the scar itself, but when you start looking at how it's going to affect other tissue, then yeah, I rather would not have it.
Yeah, and that's the key. At first, it doesn't bother us. It's when other issues, it's like you have okay, you got road construction, you got used to it. But if you add to that dynamic, then the traffic starts to back up. And that's what's happening with scar tissue, internally, deep, and superficial. And this is a good question. I was looking at your questions. They were like, do the vessels cross the median? Yeah, Mike, they do, because these are highways. They're the one vessel that can go right over the median. They can cross from Oakland County to Macomb County because it's a highway. So you don't have to work from the center out. I see a lot of people do center out, and I'm like, they're on the lymph collectors. They could be on the highway, and it would move things more quickly for them. And I'm not against the collectors, but there's certain jobs you're working on where you gotta move it quickly, like breast explants and stuff like that. You gotta get all the old junk out and you get a better result. What should a vertical abdominal scar can the impact of the inguinal area? That's a very good question. And they used to do vertical scars instead of horizontal. The vertical scars had less edema than the ones that were horizontal. The horizontal ones cut across both highways. And now mom has a little pouch, a little kangaroo pouch, and she wants to go and have a tummy tuck to hide the pouch. Oh, that's $12,000 to $15,000. And what is it really going to do? It's going to put another scar on top of another scar. That's what's going to happen. Let me show you. Just take a look at the highway. So whenever women do a C-section cut down here on the central aspect, the more C-sections they have, the more of the cosmetic surgery have and the lipo they have, the worse it gets. They get bloating, they get lumps, they get bumps. They might get a flat stomach, but now they got big thighs and knees and cankles. This is what you call becoming a lymph whisperer. You'll be able to follow the pattern and know where it's going. You guys didn't know you were signing up for that today, did you? Ooh, yeah. Now let me show you one more. This is a real important structure in the lymph system. It's about an inch long, or I'm sorry, 13 inches. That one that goes right down the center. If you go, just point to your thoracic cage from about the clavicular notch all the way down. And then you got your little umbilicus down there, but it's not an umbilicus. I lied. So what is it? Well, that 13-inch long, large green duct right down the center of the chest is called the thoracic duct. Thoracic duct. And it cleans out the lymph vessels in and the lymph nodes in the lungs, in the upper chest. But notice it's attached at the bottom by something that looks like a belly button. That is called the cisterna chyli. So everyone say cisterna chyli.
Cisterna chyli.
There you go. That's the right answer. So cisterna chyli means cistern or something that collects fluid. And what it's collecting is the lymph fluid from the lower extremities as it comes up the legs into the little pouch. Now, what's really neat is how the pouch is activated. All right, so Eastern medicine practitioners, what else? What do they call that area that we're looking at? We're calling it cisterna chyli. They call it something else. When you're breathing deeply. Hara, Chi, Ki, Tantien. They tell you to take a cleansing breath and bring it all in, and that the meridians will travel the energy from the floor up to it. And as you exhale, it will continue up that large thoracic duct. Boy, that sounds like Eastern medicine to me. And in Western medicine, we call it cisterna chyli is attached to the thoracic duct. And when we breathe diaphragmatically, we get 2 to 3 liters of lymph to move a day.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there any documentation at this point in time how COVID-19 affects the lymph structure in the lungs?
I can say yes and no. Mike, I know we've got it, but they're not letting us put it out. Any of us who put it out on Twitter, Facebook, or anything, they censor it. Because I tried to put it up there and I didn't even get a chance to print it. And they came back to me and said, we won't put it up. And it was in the Journal of American Medicine. Is that crazy?
Yeah, because I've been working with COVID patients since the beginning, actually, and one of the things is I do more and more deep breathing with them, and the patient doesn't want to do that because it makes them cough and cough and cough and cough and starts to hurt. But it excretes a lot of stuff that needs to get out of the lungs. So it's kind
Right.
of,
It needs to come up.
yeah.
And we know that the Orientals spend time outside doing Tai Chi with movement to keep that lymph and standing up and keeping the lymph moving all the way up to thoracic duct. This is part of their exercise regimen in Tai Chi. So
Yeah.
Tai Chi, Qigong, if you love other Eastern arts and forms of breathing, it's one of the best ways to stimulate that lymph and keep it going. I've been practicing this at home, by the way. But I do know they don't want us putting anything up online about it. Even when I didn't even put an opinion, I just grabbed an article from the Journal of American Medicine that was published 2 years ago. And they said, we will not print this. I'm like, okay, I didn't even offer an opinion. It's just a fact, a scientific fact.
Yeah. Well.
So here we are educating online, and we've been doing some free classes for the public, like once a month, that for those who want to learn. And here's the other part. This is the part you want to know before we do hands-on on our client, is that it's not the blood that is the central force that makes the lymph to move. It's actually muscle movement. So 2 different types of muscle. Your heart is voluntary, right? You have voluntary movement of your heart. You got the contraction. It's doing its thing. And then you got your blood beating around 60, 70 beats per minute, somewhere in there. The lymph vessels are so much smaller, and they're in between the muscles. So it requires the muscle to contract in order to get the lymph to move. So in other words, this is not passive, it's active. You have to have muscle movement to get lymph movement.
So basically what the doctors are giving the patient is, and the instructions that they're giving the patient is absolutely in my opinion, contraindicated to what we want to achieve.
Yeah, they need to move. The lymph, it's a very simple equation. If the lymph doesn't move, if the muscle doesn't move, the lymph don't move. Which is what happens with multiple sclerosis and cerebral palsy and all those neuromotor diseases. When the muscle stops moving, the lymph can't move and it's becoming acidic, and then they get skin breakdown and the whole thing. So the big word, you guys got a fancy schmancy word to learn today. It's called lymph angiomotoricity. Lymph angiomotoricity. And this is what we're going to work on. We're going to take that lymph that is really moving like at a snail's pace from 10 to 12 beats. And we're going to get it up, and it's going to move 100 to 120 beats per minute. So it's going 10 times faster by dilating the vessels and allowing the lymph to move along with the water hydration that they're taking, and you'll actually push out all that cellular debris. Now, Mother Nature designed it to do it this way. We just don't usually have the time to eat good, drink good, exercise good, sleep good. So we need a little help in our lymph system. Is anyone feeling lights in their brain going off right now?
A lot.
Well, before we break for lunch, let me I'm going to give you column A. And after lunch, I'm going to give you column B. And this is just a small representation of the people we help when they come to the spa or day spa, looking for MLD on the menu. Not everyone comes in with lymphedema and great big wraps. Like I said, we got all these people with autoimmune issues. They come for different reasons. We come for people who are coming for weight loss. They're in a weight loss program and they have so much adipose pushing on their lymph system that a woman like this probably is carrying at least 10 to 20 pounds on her body. That's just water. It's not even lymph. It makes them feel better when they see the scale go down when we can do the MLD and get all that fluid off. Or maybe they've had a gastro bypass and the doctor tells us, get in there and do some MLD. We've had a lot of those. We have people who've had allergies. It's allergy season. It's been really bad, especially with children. We can work with them and help to get their allergies back under control, their immune system under control. We have women with cystic breast. FYI, ladies, right across your back, what do you wear every day?
The bra.
The bra. Wait till we get to the posterior anastomoses and you see that the major highway goes right through the back where the bra line is. And then you wonder why you got all this fat in your back. May not even be fat. It could be fluid. Is anybody getting shocked? Yeah. All right. Eczema is a skin condition. It's unsightly and it makes people feel very bad. So they tend to compensate by overdressing because they don't want people to see them like that. But we can help them because eczema is autoimmune. The problem is actually inside out. And it's written in Vaughters' Compendium of Manual Lymphatic Drainage. So fibromyalgia and eczema, two very common autoimmune conditions, can be treated with MLD. Something natural, not another drug, to help heal from within. A lot of the problems starting inside of the body, then it shows itself on the outside. Then we have cellulite and lipedema. This is the question of, is it fat or is it fluid? Is it fat or is it fluid? Because they look alike, but they're not alike. Cellulite are these little packages of fat. Lipedema is when we get fluid-filled cysts along those hips and thighs. And they fill up with fluid because they are genetically predisposed to having problems with the lymph vessels. They're not straight, they're curled. Have you ever heard that, ladies? Maybe you recognize an aunt or a family member, you're like, Yeah, she always used to wear dresses because she couldn't fit into pants and a top. Yeah. And she had all this lumpiness. She may have had lipedema. And for years that just that was undiagnosed. They didn't have anyone who could diagnose that. So I'm just looking at everybody's comments.